Yeah, good evening, guys. Just setting up the Facebook everywhere. Wow. Yes. Hi, Anita Sarkar. Good evening, everyone. Please, you can type from where you are coming. You are from Burdwan, University of Burdwan. Yeah, good evening. Hope all are safe. And the thing is still, the coronavirus thing is going on, going on. Even Chennai is still a red zone, guys. Okay. Yeah, let me check whether we are audible in Facebook. It is still the coronavirus thing is going on, going on. Even Chennai. Okay. Hi, Saran. Hi, Vinod. Yeah. Chennai guys, be careful. And even Mumbai also. Hi, Asis. Yes, sir, after long time. But last week also I came online. Hope all are fine. Yes, today our guest is Mr. Haris Narasimha Murthy. Maybe the name itself we have Narasimha Murthy. That's why he is called Catman. I got so many requests from his parents. Please ask him to do the webinar and all. No? I think this is the one webinar. I know Harsa, but still I got lot of requests from his parents. Please, ma'am, invite Harsa to give us a talk. So I know most of our already guys are fan of Harsa. And good evening, Gayatri. Good evening, Priyanka. Priyanka Murthy from Chennai. Great. Hi, Shreyas. You're from also Chennai. But today, after 2.5 months, I gone out here. Seems to be people are going, walking everywhere. Only thing, no bus. But we have to be very careful. Now, this is the time. It's our responsibility to be careful. So, how many have been to national park? Have you seen tigers in real, wild tiger, not in a zoo? How many of you? Wow, okay. Shreyas, Prakash. Which park? Which national park? Tadoba or Karpat? Hi, John. Good evening. Hi, Mohan. Good evening. Hi, Balsandil, Hyderabad. Yes, I am fine. Hi, Nilesh. I am also fine. Thank you. But still, Chennai is an orange, red zone. Okay. Hope all are safe. And the guys started, oh, Kritika, Bannerghatta National Park. That is a big zoo only, it's not a national park. Sorry, sorry. Yeah, Bannerghatta is also okay, great. I, Tipesar Tadoba Pench Kabini, that's great. And that is great, guys. Mudumalai, yes, if you sight a tiger in Mudumalai, then it's you must be a lucky person. Tiago, great. Good evening, guys. 4 o'clock, good afternoon, good evening, Ravi. Hi, Venki Krishnan. How is Mumbai? So we are waiting, Mr. Harsha Narasimhamurthy. Guys, are you excited? Yes. A very good number of people in Facebook also. And here also, I think we got, I think more than 400, I don't know how many of you going to join live, but more than 400 registration for Harsha. Of course, everyone love big cats, no? Great. Mustafa, you want to see good photos? Definitely today you are going to see good photos. பரணிதரன் வணக்கம், நமஸ்காரம், மாலை வணக்கம் அனைவருக்கும், நம்ம தமிழ்நாட்டு மக்களுக்கும், சென்னை எல்லாருக்கும், தமிழ் பேசுறவங்களுக்கெல்லாம் மாலை வணக்கம். And my all North Indian fans and friends, namaste guys. Hope you all are fine. Definitely, okay. But mostly people know, the English is a good, no, yeah, Harsha is here with us. Harsha, are you there? No, he's not here. He's here. Yes. Welcome, Harsha.
Hi everyone. Good evening. A very good evening to everyone. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine, Harsa. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for accepting my invitation to come. You
My
seem to
pleasure.
be very busy and lockdown also giving lot of workshop.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of workshops for kids and, in fact, a
Great,
few workshops for the adults also. So just keeping myself busy during the lockdown.
great. Okay, and people are everyone is telling we want to see good photograph. Definitely good photographs
I
for
hope I
kids.
don't disappoint them. Yes.
But both are here to talk about a lot of tab where you will find tigers. Good is the when is the best time to go and all. No?
Yes.
And we have like three for a single person's great registration. Has more than 400 registration.
Thank you. Thank you.
But I think people has to come. But still, no problem. They can net and watch also in Facebook. Let us see how many of people join. Yes, 4 o'clock. Vanakkam Navneet. Good evening, guys. Who all joined in Facebook also. Good evening, everyone. Today, Mr. Harsa Narasimha Murthy. Maybe his name itself, we have Narasimha, no? So maybe that's why he is into big cats. The fans and his friends, followers are calling him the cat man. So today we are going to, he's going to present his photograph about tigers, leopard, everything. And we will discuss where is the, when is the best time to go, which place is best place to sight and so many other things. Let us know more about our big cats. Okay? Chalo, start karte hain, Harsa. It's all yours.
First of all, a very good evening to everyone. It's been pleasure showing you, showcasing some of my photographs to you guys. So today I'll talk about my journey in wildlife and especially big cats.
You can give
Though
small
I,
introduction, Harsa. Little bit
yes,
introduction for the new fans.
okay. So I am Harsha Narasimurthy. So I am a passionate wildlife photographer. I am based in Bangalore. So watching wildlife has been always a treat to me. In fact, as a kid, I grew up listening to the stories of tigers, elephants, and in Hindu mythology by my grandparents. Maybe that was the first step for me to love animals. So elephants, especially, I like elephants because that was mainly what we worshipped, and that is how I got to learn more about wildlife. So that was the major drawing thing for me to get into wildlife. As I passed, I got hooked onto this famous cartoon, the Jungle Book. So Jungle Book. So every Sunday I used to wait eagerly to watch Jungle Book, while my cousins, my sister, and all used to watch Mowgli. I was very keen on watching Sher Khan. So the bad boy of Jungle Book, Sher Khan. So maybe that's how my love for tigers grew. As time passed, I used to visit a place called Dandeli, which is in Karnataka. My aunt used to live there, and it was a very dense forest then. So that was my first exposure to wildlife. So after I finished my bachelor's, I did my master's in business administration. So once I decided I want to do something related to wildlife, and this is where my passion lies. I didn't want to really go and work in the corporate sector or the IT sector. I wanted to do something different in life. So that's when things happened, and I started learning about photography, and I started doing various trips to the national parks in India, especially my I would say my home ground. I would call it as Kabini and Bandipur, because it's just 200 kilometers away from me, and it's quite close. I go and spend a lot of time there. So in the year 2014, I spent close to the half of the year I spent in Bandipur. So that was where I decided that is where I want to make my career. This is where I want to make my career. So it's been fortunately a very good journey. I work now for a company called Toehold. As a photography mentor, I go on photography tours. I teach people. I mentor photography workshops. So I go and get the chance to explore different jungles across the world. So I have, in fact, in India, extensively traveled across some of the major tiger reserves. Apart from India, I have traveled a few more places outside India where I go and photograph the big cats. Like I told you, I'm very, very much interested in wildlife. So all animals are like love to me. All animals I like the same way. But maybe a little bit of more inclination towards the big cats. A little bit. They draw me with something. I get literally happy to see them. I'm a happy kid. It's like a kid who gets a lollipop. Whenever I see a tiger, a lot of my guests have told me on the tour that you get as excited as a kid. Especially tigers. For me, tigers are like everything. So the amount of excitement when I see a tiger is like brilliant. I would be like, tiger, 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 tiger. I'll be shouting there in the safari at times. So I am very happy to showcase you some of my pictures. I will tell you some of the interesting stories behind these pictures with the behavioral aspects of these animals, how these animals behave with, it may be a mother, may be a mating pair, may be two different males, how these cats behave with each other. Are we good to roll?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. So like I told you, my favorite of the cats, these are some of the places where I have gone and visited in India. So these are some of the places where I've gone for wildlife. Not only for cats, it's for wildlife. So like I said, I have extensively traveled in the southern part of India because I live in Bangalore. So it's very close for me to go to Bandipur or for Kabini. So I have got some pictures from Kabini. In fact, for the last 6 7 years, I religiously go to Kabini almost every once in 2 months at least. On my photo tours, I go every month, but on a personal trip, I make sure that I visit at least once a month. So the first of my best bet animal, I'll showcase some of my best tiger images. I hope you love them. And if you have questions, please type in them. We will be very happy to answer the questions at the end of the slideshow. Ma'am, are we doing that at the end, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so we'll do at the end. So please type in your questions. I'd be happy to answer your questions. If you have any doubts about where to find a tiger, what time to find a tiger, which is the best place to find a tiger, please do type in your questions. I'll be very happy to answer them. So let me show you my first ever animal, my first ever favorite, and one of my best pictures from Kabini. So this gorgeous female was to be known as a female called as Balle female. So Balle is a place in Kabini where there's an elephant camp. It's one part of Kabini, and this female used to hang around in that area. So people say that monsoons are not a good time to photograph cats. People have this notion like when it's monsoon and you hardly see cats. But for me, monsoons have been always the favorite season because as a photographer, I would love to make pictures which have greener backgrounds, So this morning, this was on a morning safari in the month of May. I was guiding a group of photo enthusiasts. So we were driving along the paths of Kabini forest, and at a far off distance, we heard a spotted deer alarm call. So while spotting a tiger or for a big cat, for spotting a tiger or a big cat, one of the major things we look around is tracking the cat itself. Because how we generally track is we have to look and see the signs of the forest. At times, what happens is there are spotted deer, sambar deer, mouse deer, or the barking deer. These kind of deers or the langurs, the monkeys, give out a unique call. So this is called as an alarm call. So whenever they see a presence of a cat, we generally tend to hear these kind of calls. So on that particular day, there was this spotted deer call, one spotted deer call very far away. So we decided to stop there and we scanned around our area. So when we scanned around the area, we saw a fresh pug mark, a fresh footprint of the tiger. So we were pretty sure that the tiger was just somewhere here. But like I said, it's not easy to see a tiger, especially in the southern Indian jungles where the animals are shy because they're not used to seeing more vehicles, unlike central India. This animal was very shy, and being monsoon, the habitat was very thick. The habitat was quite thick. So we decided to drive along on the same road for a couple of times. So we went along and parked at a junction. So at the junction, we saw a huge herd of spotted deer run from one side to the other. So there was no call or nothing. The spotted deer just ran from one side to the other. So taking the intuition, we just rolled our car a little ahead. And when I looked into my binoculars, I saw this lovely orange blob walking on the road far away. This gorgeous tigress is walking on the road far away. And that is when we got excited, tiger, tiger. So we slowly approached her, and she was very considerate to sit and pose for us. Usually, at times when you see a tiger, it's like if she or he's a shy tiger, it's like 3 seconds or 4 seconds. They look at you, they just dart inside. So this was one of my favorite images from the monsoons of 2016 from Kabini. This tigress I photographed in Tadoba in the summer, just after the first rains of Tadoba. That's why you see some greens here. So this tigress is fondly called as Choti Madhu. So one of the young and bold females there, and it was beautiful watching her there. like I said, tiger's behavior is beautiful. So if you see these marks on the tree, if you see these marks on the tree, these are the claw marks of this tiger. So this young guy, he's just a sub-adult. Maybe when I photographed him, he was around close to 2 years old. So maybe he's been following his mom. He'll see his mother do the same thing. So what tigers generally tend to do is they go upon and mark their territories. Tigers especially, and in fact cats especially, are very, very territorial. They cannot tolerate a new cat in their territory. So they'll have these boundaries. So whenever they patrol, they mark on a few trees. They spray urine. We call it a scent marking. So they spray urine on some of the favorite trees and make a boundary. So they have a boundary of their own. So when a new tiger comes in, the other tiger gets to know, okay, there is someone here. So I should not enter. If I enter, I'll have to fight. So the other tiger should be ready to fight, or the other tiger doesn't want to go into it. So this is how the tigers mark their territory. This is also one of the way where they go and claw the trees. So there's a saying where there have been times I've watched this in Bandhavgarh. There's this famous tree where there's a tiger which has clawed it so high. So initially there was one tiger which has clawed it on a low branch. The other challenging male, he came there, he saw that, and he clawed it even more higher to make sure to tell the other tiger that I am the boss. So he's telling that I am here and I am ready to challenge you. So this is one of the classic pattern of the territory marking of tigers. Tigers love water. Tigers are the only cats which I think love water like this. No other cats, it's like water in this. So especially tigers love to cool themselves in the water. This was on a winter evening. In fact, this was on a winter evening in Ranthambore. A very young guy, he's called as the blue-eyed male from Ranthambore. So on that evening, he had made a kill. So once they eat the kill, their body temperature goes up because it's raw meat and their body temperature really goes high. So that is when they come and sit in the water. So one of the good times to spot a tiger is when you know there's a kill for sure. That's one of the sure shot because once it eats, the body temperature definitely goes up and he or she will definitely come to the water. He or she will sure come to the water. The closest water hole is always your best bet. The same thing again, young tiger. So on an early morning, lovely photography technique I loved here, where I underexpose my picture to get the background dark and the tiger well lit. Again in Ranthambore, young male called as T98. So he's called as the tiger 98. So these tigers are numbered by the forest department. So every forest has unique numbers for the tigers. So every forest, like Bandipur has BTR, Bandipur Tiger Reserve, followed by a number. Ranthambore has RTR, followed by a number. So each of these parks have the tiger's name, so to identify for them. And we identify tigers generally by their stripe patterns. It's just like the thumb. It's just like the imprints on the thumb, your thumb impression. Like how no two people can have the same impression, no two different tigers will have the same kind of marking on its body. So this is one unique way to identify tigers, apart from if they have any unique features, like some of them have a fish mark on their body, some of them might have a mountain mark on their eye. So these are some of the things, but most of the time it's generally identified by the stripe patterns of them. Cubs are a treat to watch and treat to photograph. They are very, very curious. They're so curious. The cubs are always very curious. They're like peeping here and there, peeping here and there. So they come, they dart across the road. So it's a fun to photograph cubs. And the behavior of the cubs is beautiful. They're so curious. They're so curious about new things. So at times when someone is, when it's a small cub, and when the jeep comes, usually in a litter of cubs, there will be one bold cub who will always bully the others also, his siblings. So he'll go and jump on the others. He'll try to scare the others. So there'll be one tiger which will be very timid with the mom, always sticking to the mom. So there are few tigers which are very, very curious about the things. Like there are some tigers which literally walk up to your jeep, come and sniff and see what new in that. So there are times where it tries to go and imitate the mother, goes to try and claw the trees, goes to try and scent mark, even though they can't. Another example for the curiosity. So this was one evening shot in Bandhavgarh which we got. So this was a forest department patrolling vehicle. So the forest department guards were patrolling. So most of them patrol on bikes or cycles there. So these guys came and stopped there. They were just coming from the other side and they saw a tiger walking from ahead. So these guys stopped the bike and immediately went and climbed a tree and made sure they were safe. So this young guy, so he started coming and he was very curious about this bike. So he was very curious. He used to go close, get scared, go close, get scared. After a certain point of time, he was sure that it's not a harmful thing. So then he went close, sniffed the bike, and then came back. He sniffed the bike and then came back and started marking his territory on the road. Like I said, tiger cubs are very, very playful. They're very, very playful. So seen here, these two are young cubs, maybe around 1.8 years old. And one evening, they're just doing a play fight. So one of these guys was a bully. So he tried to make sure he teases the other one. So the other one was sleeping and he used to go and jump on him. So the other one saw for some amount of time, then he lost it and he started having a friendly spar. So this was one of a nice moment, especially when you have when you're watching cubs. Make sure you will have action. So there are times where people tell us, how did you exactly tell that this is what will happen? So on the trips, there are times where I tell, okay, the tiger will jump now, or the tiger will come out of this place. So they'll tell, how did you know this? So it comes with practice. I've been watching them and understanding them for the last few years. When I also started photographing, I had no clue about them. But because I spent more time learning about them, understanding them, that is when I got to know that these is the some behaviors of the animal. So there are times where the tiger is sleeping on the ground, and at times you can make out when it is going to get up. The time after it yawns is the most of the time. So usually tigers, when they are sleeping and they're when about to get up, they will yawn 2 or 3 times and then start licking their front paw. So this is one of the characteristic of a tiger when she is or he is about to get up from a sleep. So they start licking their paw and then they'll start yawning for a 2 3 times and then they get up and start moving across. So like I said, this was a friendly spar. This was just a play fight. Tiger moms are brilliant hunters, especially when they have cubs, when they're raising cubs. They hunt maybe like once, twice or thrice a week, because they have to feed the cubs, because she has to make them get stronger. So the mom, especially behavior we have seen, once she makes a kill, she lets the cubs eat. She lets the cubs eat. Once the cubs are done with their belly is full, then the mother comes and eats. And tiger moms are the best. Like moms are always the best. So tigers, no exception. Tiger moms are always the best. So in the behavior I've seen how a tiger can get angry, how a tigress can get angry when she thinks her cubs are cornered, and how carefully she moves. How it's like a stealth. So how slyly she moves them. So from moving from one place to the other, she takes utter caution about it. So she makes sure there are no vehicles around. She makes sure that there are no disturbances around, or there could be, because the cubs have constant threat of a lot of things. It could be in the Indian jungles, it could be due to the leopards, it could be the wild dogs, it could be the hyenas. So anything can kill them. So she makes sure that, and also other tigers can kill them. Like I said, the territorial pattern, because when a tigress has cubs, she doesn't mate with the different male apart from whom she had mated with. That male generally doesn't try to harm his cubs, but a new male, a wandering male, or a new male who comes into the territory has a good chance to kill the cubs, so that he can get this female to mate again. So keeping the cubs safe is a big thing for a mom. A tiger mom's life is very tough, because as the cubs start growing up, she has to make sure that the cubs don't come out or they just don't wander, and she has to constantly keep making kills, because like I said, a female tigress generally holds a territory of around 20 to 25 square kilometer per female. So every female will have a square kilometer of 20 to 25, wherein a male can have a square kilometer of 100 square kilometers per male. So in that ratio, it's around 3 to 4 females in one male's territory. In one male tiger's territory, there could be 3 or 4 different females living there. So what the male has to do is he has to go and visit every family. So maybe today he'll be here, then he goes on a patrol, he marks his territory, he goes there, he meets that family, again comes here. All the way along with that, he has to ensure that there's no new male coming in for his families to be safe. This is one of the major thing for male. So he has to ensure the cubs are safe. He has to ensure that he visits everyone. So he moves around, marks his territory. He constantly monitors his area. So when the cubs come and meets the dad, it's a beautiful thing to watch, especially an interaction between a male tiger and the cubs. It's beautiful, because when the male comes, so he comes slowly and he doesn't directly approach the cubs, because he might scare them. So this is the behavior we have seen them. He might scare them. So seeing the cubs, he might scare them. So what he generally does is he comes and sits a little far. The cubs also sits a little far. Then they start slowly getting gradually coming across, close by, and then they start playing with that. So after a certain point of time, the dad goes away and the cubs stay with their mom. The cubs most of the time stays with their mom. Unlike a few rare scenarios where there have been cases where the male tigers have taken care of the cubs because the mom is no more. There used to be this famous incident in Ranthambore where there were two female cubs and a male tiger called Zalim took care of them after their mother died. One of the rare scenarios. Again, a tigress with kill. I like to photograph in the evening light, especially a light like this. I like to photograph the evening light like this. This was a fresh kill in Kabini. This was very fun for us to track this tigress because it was a good chase, a good cat and mouse chase. If we go to this road, she would have slipped to the other road, and we used to just see her fresh pug marks. And when we came back finally, she made a kill. We heard a huge sound of all the spotted deer and langur shouting, and we went in position and she started walking out with the kill. And this shot, maybe I got fraction of 3 or 4 seconds. That's all. I got 3 or 4 seconds to make this shot. Play sparring again, play sparring. This is a mating pair. This is basically a mating pair. So the female shows a fake anger towards the male. So once the mating is done, they go in air, and I was quick enough to capture this action in Ranthambore. This was one of the best moments for me because this was the first ever time I was seeing an interaction between a male and a female, and it was beautiful to watch it. This is like another thing of tigers. Like I said, they're very territorial. They're very, very territorial. This is a big cat fight. So these are two male tigers fighting against each other. So this I photographed in 2019 October in Ranthambore while I was leading a photography tour. I was in a full day photography tour at Ranthambore. This has a very interesting story. So one of the males called as one of the two males here, one is T57 and one is T58. So T57 was seen mating with a female called as T39 for the last 2-3 days. And we saw them sleeping in the bush after their mating rituals. So we just waited for them to come out. All of a sudden, we saw one more tiger pop out of a bush. And he came slyly and he started walking, and he heard T57's roar. And he sat down in the bush. So after maybe 40 minutes, this new tiger again came out, and he took a roundabout route. He took a little roundabout route, maybe like a kilometer something far away. And he took a circle and made sure he came here. Then he sat down and watched. The patience of a tiger is like brilliant. They have such patience. They sat down. He sat down and stealth. The stealth was brilliant. He slowly started stalking them. And at one point, the sleeping tigers couldn't even make out that the other tiger was close to them. Only when he placed his paw on the sleeping tiger, the other tiger got up. And then it was a big battle. They had blows hitting each other. They had hitting each other. And one of the tiger finally what did T57 rolled the other one down and caught him by his nape, caught him by his elbow. And it was a big gash on his elbow. There's blood flowing everywhere. The other tiger had a scar mark on his face. Then we got to know it was none other than his own brother from his litter, T58. So maybe 7 or 8 years back, they had split from their mother. And this was probably the first time they were meeting each other. And usually how tigers separate from the mother is after around 2 years. When they're around 2 years, the mother starts chasing them away. When they reach around 2 or 2.2 years, around that is the time when the mother starts chasing away. Generally, she tends to give some part of her area. So when it's a ratio of say one male and one female, the mother gives some part of her area to the female tigers, to her own cub, and she moves a little away. Wherein the male, she starts driving them, and the male goes away trying to find his own territory, and he comes back at times to his back wherever he was born, maybe after a few years, and to challenge this. There have been instances where a tiger goes into exile, builds himself up, and comes back and challenges the male where he was born. Another rare scenario which I caught, this tigress was called as the tiger tank female. She lived in Kabini, and this was her son, who was around 2 years old. One morning in August, we are on a trip there, and we went on this road called the 5-kilometer road, which is a highway, old highway. And as we were driving past, we waited for tigers, nothing happened. And around 8:40 in the morning, we heard one single langur call. A langur monkey called out from a very far distance, and we just rolled our jeep there, and we saw this tigress walking. So this tigress walking was okay for us, and we started getting excited and photographing. Then we saw her son coming behind. So now we are seeing two tigers in a span of 2 minutes. So when I'm seeing them, I suddenly see three tigers pop out of the bush. Very small, tiny ones. They are not her own cubs. So this was an interesting scenario where she played a foster mother to them. A very, very interesting scenario. I don't know if ever these kind of things were recorded again, because when she was raising her own litter, she got three more small cubs to live with them. So we saw them continuously for 2-3 months after this, and after this, these three small cubs were never seen. So it was one of the most beautiful moment for me, seeing a tigress take care of some other female's cubs. So most likely these cubs were orphaned. So they started hanging around with this family, and we used to see this the older cubs playing with the smaller cubs at times. So it was very beautiful. It was more like an emotional moment for me, where it was like the mother letting some of the new cubs come to her, play with her. They used to come and roll on the female and play with her, and she used to do the same kind of, she used to show the same kind of love and affection like she showed to her own cubs. The last slide for my tigers, one of my favorite pictures to my heart, tigress from Ranthambore called Noori. They call her Noori. So one of the evenings where she came and walked on the Nala, and she stood on this rock. It was such a beautiful sight to watch how she balanced herself, how beautifully she balanced herself. One small rock and all the four legs on the rock. And it was beautiful. So she drank water here, and then she swam across this water and just moved to the other side. So this is about tigers for me. This is about some of the best collections of tigers for me.
That's a great story at Green. Very interesting, awesome images, Kasa, about tiger and all. Your favorite park in India?
I would say Bandipur is my favorite park in India, because I have an emotional connect with that park, because that is where I started my career. But if you want to see tigers in the wild, I would say Ranthambore is one of the best places today.
Ranthambore.
Ranthambore followed by Bandhavgarh or maybe Tadoba. These are some of the best places today.
But every year change, no? The sighting is every year. Sometimes Tadoba, the good sighting is going on.
Yes.
But Ranthambore, which month you prefer, Harsha? Is it winter or summer?
Okay, so
usually say summer is the best time, because all the drinking water we will get them in a near pool. So when is the best time to visit see tiger?
As you will have to decide. Everyone has to decide like what you want. So are you just a tiger enthusiast, or are you someone who wants to make pictures of tigers? So personally, this is my personal opinion. So I love to travel in the winter and monsoons, because I get some nice backgrounds to photograph, especially for tigers. For the contrast of the body, if I get a green background, it'll be a beautiful picture. But saying that, to watch tigers, summer is very good, because what happens during summer is the temperatures soar up like crazy, and the water level goes down too less. The water level, especially in central India, the water level goes down too less, and the temperature is so high there. At times, I have worked in temperatures of 48 degrees. Last year in Ranthambore, I worked in 48 degrees, and we saw this beautiful tigress come and sit in the water pool. And she was there for almost like 3 hours, because she was cooling herself. She was just sleeping in the water. So if you're keen on seeing tigers, watching tigers, then summers are definitely good, because that is when most of the sightings happen. There's a lot of chances. So if you say, ideally, I would say seeing tiger 4 times out of 10 safaris is a good number. 4 tiger sightings out of 10 safaris is a very good number if you think you want to see a tiger. So in summer, I would say maybe the chances would be 3 out of 10. You will see 3 out of 10. And in the monsoon, it might be 1 out of 10. But photographically, monsoons are beautiful. That is one thing.
See, other cats, big cats.
Yeah. So my next favorite from India, the lions. We see lions in only one state of India, that is in Gujarat, and especially this park called as Gir, one of the beautiful parks. Until a few years back, I never thought that the park was so beautiful, because I heard a lot of people telling that the park is not good or something like that, but you should go there to experience that park. It's one of the best places, and it's the only place where you can see the Asiatic lions today, because that's the only place which hosts the Asiatic lions, and it's one of the most well-maintained parks in terms of rules, in terms of the discipline by the people there, and I love this park for that. And Gir is not only about lions. There's a lot of leopards also there seen. Sometimes there are records of hyenas and all. Apart from that, good bird life in Gir. So if you are keen on seeing lions, then Gir is the place to watch out for. So some of the images I show you here are made from Gir. A young lion cub. So one of the mornings I was doing a private guided tour there, and this small chap, so his mom and his siblings were behind. So he was so curious about us. He was so curious about us. He started trotting, and he came and literally sat in front of a jeep. He was like, "I'm not letting you go from here." So he was so curious to see what are these people up to and what are these jeeps up to. Maybe his first interaction with the jeeps and stuff. And he came and sat there, and he blocked the way for a good maybe 20 minutes there before his mom started calling him, and he realized he had to go back. Male lion, a huge male lion. So Gir, unlike other parks, there are a lot of time instances where the cats prey upon cattle here, because there are few settlements inside the park, and one of the domestic cattle also are one of the major food source for the cats here. So there are times where the animals, the buffaloes which are grazing there, gets caught by the lion and they're taken by them. But thankfully, the harmony of people and animals is so good that they don't literally harm the animal there. They don't want to harm the animal, because people realize, as important as they are to the forest, they also realize that animals are very important. So they treat the lion and they worship the lion. I have seen this very personally. I know people who speak great about lions. So I met one of these tribes people. So I asked him, "Aren't you angry about the lion killing your buffalo?" So he said, "No, no, no, it's okay. We are living in its place, so it's okay for us." And we should really appreciate about the department there who really take care, and who, the people from Gir are, I would say, one of the best places I've visited. In terms of hospitality, in terms of watching the wildlife, this has been one of the best places. Again, a lioness on an afternoon drive, a hot afternoon. So she had kept her cubs in one of the rocks there, just behind the rocks, and she came and stood there. When we came near the rock, we didn't know that the cubs were there. That is when she got up. She was sleeping. She got up. She was very cautious now. She was very cautious because there was someone there. She came near the rock, and she took the cubs away from there. A naughty cub sleeping on the road, he was not ready to go out of the place. So this was the same cub who had come and blocked away. So this guy was extra curious about everything on the road. So he used to come sit on the road and not move from there. Finally, the mom had to come and tell him to come home, let's go home back. A lioness, again, a beautiful lioness from Gir. I love photographing with dark backgrounds like these, where I get the background dark and only the animal properly to be seen. A young cub. This was another sibling. This was another sibling of him, and he also was very curious about how how we are looking at them, or how the jeeps are and stuff. And he just came and posed very gracefully for us. A play fight. A female tries to chase a male lion because he tried to go and disturb her from her sleep. She was sleeping peacefully, and I think the queen didn't like the king to be disturbing her, so she went and literally scared him away from there. The same pair, a mating pair of lions on a lovely summer morning. So especially while photographing cats, I would love to make sure my backgrounds are beautiful, because that is what gives an extra thrill in the picture. So initially I was on the other side of the lions, from the opposite side of the lions, and I saw that the background was very kind of dry, because it was a simple road and it was very dry. So that is when we went roundabout, we took a round turn and came, and thankfully these cubs were there. Thankfully these cubs were there. Sorry, this mating pair was there. And we positioned our car in such a way now that we had a lovely green background. A lovely green background. One more cub from Gir. Okay, so lions, these are the collection of lions from Gir. Some of the collections are from Gir, because I have lots of pictures from Gir. And now I'll talk about some animal which is known for its elusiveness. A very, very elusive animal, a very, very elusive, but a very adaptable animal. It can stay in cities, it can stay in the mountains, it can stay in the forest, it can stay everywhere. It can stay anywhere and everywhere. The leopards, especially the Indian leopards. These are some of the animals. This is an animal which stays everywhere. At outskirts of Bangalore, you see, outskirts of Chennai, you see everywhere. They're almost everywhere. They live on the rocks in Rajasthan. They live in the forests in Kabini. They live in the outskirts of Bangalore and Coimbatore. They're everywhere, in the outskirts everywhere. They're so adaptable to people. Even in Bombay, a place like Mumbai, which is so thickly populated, people see leopards very close to the city there. So shy and elusive. This was a quick shot which I made when a leopardess was very shy. We saw her sleeping on a tree, and as soon as she saw us, she darted down the tree. And only I got the tail there. A lovely tail, a nice pattern on the tail there. A curious guy just peeping there, a curious guy, he's just hanging there. This was in Bandipur on one of the morning drives. So we went to the park inside, and just 2 minutes into the park, and we saw this guy on the ground. As soon as he saw us, he got onto the tree and he didn't have a proper grip. So all he did was he just clawed into the tree and hung upon there. Lepidus from Kabini, one of the dry seasons. This is one of the reason I generally avoid shooting in the summer. So at times you can't really make out where is the leopard if you see him in this kind of habitat, because the weather, habitat is so dry. It's also acts as one of the best places to hide themselves, because these leopards, when they want to make a kill, they can literally go and blend themselves up in this grass, and it's literally impossible for you to make out if there's a leopard or not. Once they crouch down, everything appears to be the same. Leopard from Bandhavgarh, one of my Central Indian leopard. This was one of my first ever Central Indian leopard. He was gradually, when we were tracking a tiger, we stumbled upon fresh pug marks of a leopard. And as we went a little forward, we saw this guy walking on the road. And he made sure he reminded us how shy he was. After this shot, he ran away from there. He didn't come back after that. Legendary leopards. I like some of the leopards personally because I have been photographing them for ages. So this guy is called a Scarface, and he's from Kabini, and he's one of the boldest leopards in Kabini. So there are people say that if you see Scarface, you can ensure that you spend the entire safari with him, because he's so bold. He can walk up to your vehicle. He makes you reverse the car. If he's on the tree, he peacefully sleeps there. So there's no problem of seeing or having a fear of the cat running away from you. Shy leopardess from Bandipur, again, a very, very shy leopardess. So she was trying to drink water, and there was a bus which came and disturbed her, and she had to dart from there. A morning shot of the same leopard who was just hanging down there, and he just came onto the road and took a quick glance at us before going there. And one of the trick to photograph cats is, one of the trick to get an eye contact of them is, if you see them about to cross the road, if they're about to cross the road, they will look at one of the directions for you. So you will have to just pray that it will look towards your direction. Either it will look to the left or it will look to the right. When they're about to cross the road, they'll ensure they'll do that. They'll make sure they look here or there and then cross the road. They just don't randomly go there. Maybe they're very curious about following the proper traffic rules and making sure they see everything is clear and then cross the road. So this is one good understanding for you to take a picture of that. This one of my best images, one of my favorite images from Gir. On a lovely evening ride, we saw this gorgeous leopardess who came there and started drinking water. So the trick to photograph the leopardess cats while drinking water is, wait for them to look at you. While they drink water, they'll roll their eyes up and look at you at one point. That is the time to click. This is when you get a lovely shot. So make sure the animal looks at you while it's drinking water. When it puts its tongue out and starts curling up the tongue, it also looks at you. Getting an eye contact makes your picture looks very beautiful. So if you are keen on photographing cats, wait for a few minutes or wait for a few moments. So I personally recommend people, when they see a cat, observe it first, watch it first, because seeing through your eyes is more beautiful than capturing it in pictures. Because I see a lot of people who get so excited they just lift the camera and miss out seeing that beautiful creature. So the best thing to do is to observe them, So now I would love to introduce you to a celebrity, one of the celebrity. I think most of you are hoping to see him. So he's none other than the Black Panther of Kabini, the black leopard of Kabini. It's another leopard. It's just another leopard with a melanastic disorder. So it's not a new species. A black panther is not a different species. The black panther is also known as a black leopard. So in fact, we are fortunate to have one guy. Until 2015, I hardly remember 5 pictures of the black panthers. I hardly remember 5 pictures of the black panther across India. But thankfully, after this guy came into the tourism area, we are seeing a lot and lots of black panther sightings. So this guy makes sure that he puts up a show at times. If you see him, you can be assured that you will get a nice shot of him. There are most of the times where we get him on the tree. This was a sighting where I got him for around 45 minutes on the tree. He was just relaxing there and sleeping there for the entire duration. If you see him close, you can see his spots. Just like any other leopard, you can see the spots on the body because he is also another leopard. So there is this notion where people think it's not a leopard. So what we generally tend to do is we track him in the winters. Winters are the most of the time where he's been moving a lot because he looks for a lot of new mates and maybe he's active during the winter. So the last winter was very good for him. And Kabini's tourism area is quite small, and that makes it very easy for you to track comparatively to other places. So I have seen personally 3 black panthers till date. My first ever black panther was in Dandeli in the year 2010, where I didn't even have a photograph of it. Then the Kabini black panther, and then the latest addition was in Tadoba. So there's this melanastic leopard. So he doesn't have a fully dark coat, but it's half tawny and half black. The rosettes, the darks are not as prominent as this guy, but if you want to come and photograph a black panther, Kabini is the best bet today. Maybe until this guy stays, Kabini is the best bet. You can go and try your luck at Kabini. And the winters are a good time. And unfortunately, what happens with this guy is now he is holding a area which is also going into the non-tourism area. So now earlier what he used to do was he used to mostly come around and patrol in the tourism area. But now he started going into non-tourism because he's expanding his territory. He's going on expanding his territory. So at times what happens, morning he's seen on tourism area and evening you think and try go and track him, he might have crossed to the non-tourism. So also cat sighting is a matter of luck. Your tracking, luck, all of these combine together to give you a good sighting. This was another sighting where he came and stood on this bark. So we were driving past and we had no clue of this black panther. We suddenly spotted him climbing the tree. And after that, we positioned our car very far away, making sure that he relaxes. Then we slowly switched off our engines and came closer. And then we had a lovely sighting of him. One more beautiful sighting of this guy. A typical monsoon sighting for a black panther. Surprisingly, most of my black panther sightings have come in the monsoons when it's raining. Either it would have rained just then. Sometimes I've seen him in pouring rains, or sometimes I've seen him just after the rains. And this is how amazingly he can hide from all of us. See, this is where the black panther is sleeping. And there are times where you drive past him and you tend to miss him there because this was how brilliantly he was sleeping that day. And no one had seen him. A lot of vehicles had passed there and hardly anyone could have got a glimpse of him. Very far inside that, and we spotted him and we got some record shots here. One more record where he was hiding in a tree. Again, a very tough thing. So this shows how elusive they are. So Kabini, especially this place, it's very thickly wooded. So Kabini is a park which is quite thick. So this is one of the reasons where you have the sighting a little tough. So gradually over the years, the sightings have picked up compared to the previous years. So long back, Kabini sightings used to be like hardly a few seconds at times. When you used to see a tiger, it used to be a few seconds there. But thankfully now it's gradually improving. So this is my collection from India. This is my big cat collection from India. I hope you guys enjoyed it before I go on and switch to the other country now. So apart from India, I love to go and photograph the leopards in Sri Lanka. So the prime predator in Sri Lanka is the leopard. So in India, the prime predator, you have the leopard sharing its territory with the tigers in the most of the parts of India. And in Gujarat, you have the lion sharing the territory with them. Apart from that, they also compete with the wild dogs, the Asiatic wild dogs or dholes, which we call them. They also compete. So especially some parks have 3 predators, so which are the tigers, which are the leopards and which are the wild dogs. So the leopard constantly has fear here. That's the reason most of the time you see them on trees in our jungles. But in Sri Lanka, the leopard is one of the apex predator there. So in Sri Lanka, the leopard is one of the apex predators. So he has no threat there, apart from maybe sometimes getting charged by a herd of buffaloes and all. So this is the Sri Lankan subspecies of the leopards. So this leopards I photographed in this place called as Yala, a beautiful park called as Yala, one of the lovely places to see leopards and photograph them there. This gorgeous female was called as Strawberry. She's known as Strawberry by the locals. So a very good looking female, and she has a nice long tail. A very tricky subject to photograph cats, especially because of their long tails. Most of the time we tend to chop it off. So when you are photographing cats, please ensure you have the entire cat in your frame. Yala is famous for seeing leopards on rocks, especially because there's a beach inside the national park itself. You get to see sometimes leopards basking on the sun in there. So this was in 2018, one of the gorgeous oldest leopards. He's known as Chandri. So on that evening, he came there and he sat on this rock. For the next 1 hour, he was there. We had some lovely sightings of him. A beautiful individual to watch for. Another leopard, a very shy leopard, before it quickly gave us a glance and she ran away inside. So this was leopardess from Yala again. Strawberry when she was a young cub, 2 years before I photographed the recent picture. So this was when approaching vehicle couldn't even make out because they're so camouflaged well, especially in Sri Lanka. The sand also makes them look very camouflaged to their color. So that is one of the biggest advantage for them to make kills there. So thankfully, this sighting we had seen him, and while they started coming, we had to tell them to stop there and then come slowly and watch the leopard there. Africa, so the Mecca of wildlife. I got introduced to Africa in the previous year. I did a couple of trips to Africa, and it's been like one of the best places I went and photographed. It's like a heaven for wildlifers. To see animals, you literally don't get bored of seeing animals there. You literally don't get bored of seeing animals. Every minute you see something or the other. Every single minute you see something or the other. It could be a lion, it could be a cheetah, it could be a leopard, it could be an elephant, it could be a buffalo, it could be anything. It could be an eland or an antelope or a gazelle or whatever. So at every point of time, you get to see something or the other in Africa because the habitat is there and the diversity of animals is so much. The parks are so well protected and it's huge parks, and the density of animals is quite large there. So the first of the lions, the African lions, two brothers. One guy is a one-eyed male. So both of them sit and watch a herd of buffalo before they started stalking them and trying to make a kill. One of the brothers, he came there and he stood there and he watched as he started walking straight to us, where I could get to make a portrait image of him. Lion cubs in the rain. So this was something new for me, where I saw a lion in the rain and I enjoyed photographing this. I love photographing this sequence where the animals started walking. These lion cubs were clearly walking on the road, and then they came and started walking in the grass, and clearly they came and sat and started enjoying the rains. One more frame from the same series where you see the lions, a bunch of school kids, I would say the bunch of school kids on their first day in the school, where they're all sitting next to each other and enjoying the rains. This was the first ever instance where I saw lions enjoying the rain like this. So I planned to get a frame where I could also showcase the rainfall there, and I made a lovely picture here. A beautiful lioness on the evening light, a beautiful lioness than the evening light. So the difference what I have seen personally between the Asiatic lions and the African lions is the build and the contrast in their colors. The African lions are more contrasty in their skin tone, and they're also quite well built. And the males especially have a bigger mane than our Asiatic lions. Lioness with her two cubs, playful cubs. When the cubs are very small, they're very playful. So like I said, when you see small cubs, be prepared to get some action. You will definitely get action when they're there, and please be ready with your shutter speeds going fast and making sure you freeze those moments properly. One of my favorite picture, one of the most liked pictures by everyone. A pride of lions on a morning. So there are 11 lions in this picture, 3 adults and 8 small ones. So on a rainy morning, we went there and we stumbled upon this a bunch of lions, this pride of lion, and they are fondly called as the Black Rock Pride. So it's in Masai Mara. So they're called as the Black Rock Pride. So we saw them quite deep inside the forest, like away from the game track, and we patiently waited there for them to come out to the road. Maybe after 40-45 minutes, they decided to come on the road and started walking. So we made sure we had moved the car ahead and we parked it across to get a lovely picture like this. One of my favorite, because I'd never seen so many cubs together walking like this, and one of the most tender moment, I would say, when the cubs went and snuggled there against their moms or their aunts. And it's a beautiful thing to watch lion prides. Especially, I loved watching lion prides in my recent trip to Africa, because I saw a lot of cubs, the beautiful interactions of how they go and behave with the matriarchs of the family, the way they go and jump across, the way come and greet their moms, their aunts. There was this beautiful lioness. Uh, Two adult lioness were sleeping, and the other one came, a young lion. She came and first greeted the aunt, and then she went and started greeting the mother and playing with her. Lion landscape, horizontal, vertical picture of a lion, a beautiful habitat for me. So I made sure that I got a vertical frame because I love the sky in this picture. Leopards, African leopards are something magic, because it's quite tough to see a leopard in Africa. Like people say, you can ensure you see, you can, at sure you can see a lion. 100% you can see a lion in your drive. You can see a cheetah 70% of the times. But watching a leopard or seeing a leopard is very tough in Africa. And I was really fortunate to see and photograph some of these leopards. A beautiful leopardess in the morning light, a backlight picture. I love to photograph against the backlight. So one of the beautiful female, she's called as Bella. So a very young female, and she came and walked in lovely morning light. A lazy slumber on a hot afternoon. So this leopardess slept for almost like 2 hours like this. She never moved after this. A very shy leopard who was crouching until one of our drivers spotted it, because none of us had seen it because he was so well crouched. And we were driving past, and our driver suddenly said, "Leopard, leopard." So it took us literally 2 to 3 minutes to watch this guy, because he was very, very crouched and he had not even moved his head. Only when he moved his head, we could see him, and we understood there's a leopard there lurking behind the grass. Cheetahs, a unique species limited to Africa, unfortunately. Long back, people say they used to exist in India, and now they're really extinct. Some of the pictures of cheetahs from Africa. Young cub. This was one of the cheetah who they call her a silige, and she had a litter of 7 cubs. She had given birth to 7 cubs, and when we went, we saw 6 cubs, but unfortunately we got to know recently that none of the cubs survived. So a very sad moment. But when we were there, we were very fortunate to see her with her 6 cubs. So it was a treat to track her every day. So it's to every day morning we used to go out of the hotel at around 6 o'clock in the morning, because we used to stay right inside the park, and it was beautiful to go and track her there.
Yeah.
Some of the small cats from my collection, some of the small cats, the last 3 pictures I'll show you. Some of the small cats. I don't want to do injustice to the small cats just because I'm talking about the big cats. So the small cats, the rusty spotted cat, which is like one of the world's smallest wild cat, which is one of the smallest wild cat. And it's very, very, very hard to photograph them because they are always seen in the night. They're highly nocturnal. These cats are highly nocturnal. So on one of the morning drives, we are very, very fortunate. It's like seeing 100 tigers. It's like seeing 100 tigers or seeing the Black Panther 20 times. So this cat is very, very rare. So on a morning drive at Tadoba, so we are very fortunate where we could go and see this family. So as we were driving past, we saw this small cat coming out of the bush. So initially we didn't realize what cat it was. We initially thought it was a jungle cat, because until then no one had seen that. Not even our guide had seen it. So this mother came out, and then she started calling out, and then these 2 small kittens, very beautiful cute kittens, came onto the road, and they posed at us gracefully for a few seconds, and then they started crossing the road, and then they moved to the other side. and they were so well blend with the habitat there. The body color and the leaves, everything looks same. It's at times it makes me wonder how beautiful the creation is. And especially when I saw the Black Panther for the first time, I could not believe that something like this existed, because it was like a creature from the heaven. It was like a mythical creature. So where it's lovely, gorgeous, yellow eyes, black, jet black body, and when it opened its eyes, it's lovely dark yellow eyes. It's like some new species, something coming from the other planet. So this is a jungle cat, which is one of the most common cats in most of the parks. They are one of the smallest cat, the biggest among the small cat maybe. They are also very good hunters, and they are very beautiful to watch. In fact, Gujarat, again, a place called Jamnagar, I've seen beautiful pictures of jungle cats from there. Maybe I would love to go and photograph there someday. So this is my presentation for the cats. I hope you guys enjoyed. I would love to answer your questions if you
Yes,
have
yes.
anything now.
We can stop this one. Yeah. Yes. It's a wonderful, wonderful. That's Black Panther. See, her, he's a beauty. You know?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah. But I usually say, Harsa, even our camera couldn't capture 50% of beauty of real tiger. And all.
Absolutely.
And you see, really, it's really
True.
magnificent and so majestic.
Very
Huh?
true.
Camera, though, even I think 30% only we can capture.
So most of the times we generally tend to forget to watch them. We are so interested in taking the picture.
Yes. Photographers, we always but
that is what I feel. I tell people, more than photographers, it's non-photographers who enjoy the wildlife.
Yes.
Just carry your binoculars and watch wildlife, and you'll enjoy it more than
us. We got a lot of questions, sir. I will take one by one. What is your camera lens? Preferred camera lenses for this tiger photograph?
At least a focal length of around 400 mm is good.
Okay.
Most of the camera models are well today. I am not a person who goes by the camera brand. I shoot with everything. I shoot with the Canon, I shoot with the Nikon or a Sony. I'm comfortable with everything, and I see everything performs well. So with terms of your focal length, I would say at least a focal length of 400 mm should be good. Also, carrying a wide angle always helps in the field.
Yes.
When I go and do trips, I personally shoot with a 200-500, and I also carry a 18-105 on my thing. So at times I get to make wide angle images also.
Yes. Sumit Saga is asking, which tiger reserves are open during monsoon? RTR and others are closed from June to September.
Yes, most of all the Central Indian parks, in fact, the main tourism area of the Central Indian parks are closed. Like places in Tadoba, a few buffer areas are open in the tourism also, in the monsoons also. But if you're keen on traveling in the monsoons for cats, I would say Kabini, Bandipur is one of the best places. Places in Karnataka are open throughout the year. All the tiger reserves in Karnataka are open throughout the year. Even in some parts of places like Mudumalai in Tamil Nadu and all are also open for cats in monsoons. So they are open throughout the year. So in Karnataka, at least they'll not close the parks for the entire year. They're open throughout the year and you can come and visit anytime.
And Prakasa was asking, territorial marking done only by the male tiger? No.
No, even the females do. Even the females can get into fights.
Okay. And Mahesh Ramakrishna was asking, for the tiger cubs in action, did you use aperture priority mode?
Yes, I always use aperture priority mode. I by default shoot aperture priority for fast moving subjects. Okay. Only when I want to shoot something slow or when I want a deliberate motion blur, that is when I use shutter priority.
Okay. And best time to see Black Panther, that we already...
Best time to see Black Panther, unfortunately, no one knows. I would say winter is a good time. Based on the last few records, what we have seen, it's assuming what we think. It's just my assumption. Winters are very good. Winters are quite good.
Yes. Devendra is asking, would you suggest slightly overexposing while photographing the Black Panther?
It depends on what your background is. It's not only about the Black Panther, because it also depends on something like your background, where how your camera's metering is being measured. So if your background is quite dark and the Black Panther is dark, it's a different scenario, because what happens, the majority of your frame would be dark and your camera tends to overexpose. So underexpose also works. So maybe except for one of the pictures on my slide, all the pictures have underexposed for the Black Panther.
Okay. And I think this is a common doubt. How to differentiate a male and female tiger in a wild by looking?
The major thing is the organs.
Organs,
The organs is one of the major thing what we generally look at. And in terms of the size, a few facial features at times matter because the male might have a slightly larger beard. The male might be a slightly bigger. And the size of the male also would be sometimes bigger than the female. But also there are times where we have got confused seeing a female to be a male. Because in Kabini, there's one female tigress who looks like a male. She's massive. So it's mainly due to the organs.
Okay. And Prasanta Ghosh was asking, do you travel alone?
At times I travel alone for my tour, or at times I have a friend who I travel along with. Most of the time I travel on photography tours. Like I said, I work for a company called Toehold, and I do photography tours, and I go on tours taking clients.
Can you tell, Kusan Siva is asking, can you tell what is the procedure to bring big lenses by flight?
I generally carry the lenses in the cabin baggage itself because I don't want to risk it in the cargo. So most of the time I have not had an issue till date, except for once where I had to convince them that I'm carrying a very expensive lenses and I can't afford to go and do that. So most of the time, thankfully, the people I've met have been sweet.
Actually, you can carry check-in luggage. There are specific lens baggages are available.
Yes, like the Pelican case.
Pelican case and all. So you can carry lenses when you are traveling in the cabin as a cabin luggage. And Krishna Adu was asking, something you suggest are tips on keeping eye level from gypsy.
Most of the time, shooting eye level from gypsy is the positioning of your car. Just pray that the animal also is slightly on an elevated angle. So what I generally tend to do is I go as low as possible on the gypsy's floor itself. I crouch, I do some crouching there, and I make sure as low as possible. So your positioning of the car is very, very important. So there are times where the animal is walking towards you and we back off so much that you get it on an eye level. If the road is uneven, it's like that. So that's the only way you can get eye level.
And the Sivasari is asking, how do you safeguard yourself from attacks from those wild cats?
Till date, thankfully, never have
you been threatened by them anytime?
Yes, never have I felt scared because like people think they're not really ferocious. They might harm you if you go and try to get into their personal space. So as a wildlife photographer, respecting your animal comes before shooting it. That is my personal opinion. Respecting the animal, making sure you have a decent distance from the animal is really important. So each tiger has a different...
and don't make noise also.
Absolutely,
just for the photography purpose, I find Harsa, people started tapping their vehicles and all of that. Lions, tigers will be lying down. They want to action photograph, to walking. Do they disturb? So it's
very true. There's a thin line between following the ethics and not following the ethics. So as an individual, this is where you will be most ethical photographer.
Yes. And Ram Balaji was asking, do you suggest Nagarkoil for sighting big cats?
You mean Nagarhole, is it? Yeah, Nagarhole is, Kabini is a part of Nagarhole. So basically, Black Panther lives in Nagarhole. So Nagarhole is a tiger reserve. So it's divided into two tourism area. The park is split across two of different tourism area. One is called as the Kabini side because it's named after the backwaters. The other one is the Kuruk division where safaris happen there also. So Nagarhole, yes, it's a good place to see and photograph big cats.
Another interesting question, Karsa. I think your friend maybe Ganesh Chandramouli is asking, Radhika ma'am, when is Haris getting married? Please ask him.
Just tell him I'm very happy in life.
He's very happy in life. Don't disturb him. Okay. Actually, Anam is someone is new. Thanks for the wonderful presentation. What happens to a female tigress once she loses her territory?
So she might move out. So basically, every tiger, not only female, it could be a male also. Once he or she is driven out of their territory, they start going finding a new area. So in fact, once the tiger starts getting old, so most of the tigers in the wild can be at their prime up till the age of 10 years. So they live between 6 years to 10 years is their prime time, where they hold a larger area. So after 10 years, maybe a new male comes and tries to challenge. And most of the time, these older tigers go and settle down at the fringes of the forest. That is where your human-animal conflict comes into play. And if you see the pattern of the animals being caught and all, most of the tigers which are caught are either old or either injured.
And I think Sanjay was asking, what is the best shutter speed and ISO settings to capture tiger?
Unfortunately, nothing like that.
There's
Unfortunately,
no
there's no
pamphlet.
yeah, it
Depends on
depends
the
on your
light.
light. It depends on your light. But if you say action, I would say a shutter speed of at least 1/640 should be good for a decent action. So ISO, no one can preset it. It depends on what you're shooting and for that particular light, what your shutter speed is.
Okay. And other questions, let me see. You can see the Q and answer session, Harsa. There you go.
Yes, yes.
Sumit was asking, you spend so much time in jungles. How does a beginner get a chance to go into the reserve for prolonged periods and thus doing tourist safaris become unaffordable for long stays?
Unfortunately, I also do the same thing. I also started doing the same thing. So I know that wildlife tourism is too expensive. Very honestly, wildlife tourism is very, very expensive. It's one of the lucrative hobbies to have. How I learned my photography is I never fancied going in jeeps or doing stuff. I used to go on the forest department buses, the canters in 2014-15. We used to have 100 rupees ticket. The ticket used to be 100 rupees. It was a big bus. As a normal tourist, I used to go. And if I was lucky, I used to make pictures. I used to make the most of it. So that is how I built my portfolio.
Okay. Um, Now, due to this pandemic period, how can make ourselves ready to take pictures like this, and how will the wildlife force are going to face this problem? I think
So
wildlife is safe only.
wildlife is
Only here to
100%. In
go.
fact, they're roaming around happily there.
Uh,
So,
yeah.
pandemic, I would say this has been one of the best time for me. I would say the lockdown period was one of the blessing in disguise for me because I learned a lot of new things. Apart from teaching kids every day, I learned a lot of new things like editing videos or maybe making videos or experimenting my camera or learning more stuff about processing. A lot of things. So this is one of the best times to go and put your skills in test. This is if you don't learn the new skill now, you are wasting your time like anything.
And Ranjani Narayan asking, awesome session, Harsa, very informative. Which national park would you suggest to go as an amateur photographer to go?
Anything closer to you,
Closer to it. Yeah.
anything closer to you. So most of the times I see wildlife around my area itself. So it could be wildlife is not only about tigers or leopards. So one should understand wildlife can be anything. Nature photography is a vast
Wow.
branch. It could be birds, it could be insects, it could be flowers or whatever. So getting to put your skill into the proper sharpness is by going into your own garden and photographing something, or by going into
Nearby
your
places
backyard
in
and
practice.
photographing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. And how to click picture when they suddenly arrive.
I would
Inside
say
the
be
forest, you have
prepared.
to be very alert,
Yeah,
guys.
be very alert.
Very
You,
alert.
you will have to be constantly looking around because the forest constantly gives you signs,
Fine.
tells you something is there. But there are times where you can't take a shot. So let go of it. Don't worry about it.
Sanjeev was asking, how do you prepare yourself before getting into a photo shoot?
Nothing. Just go with open mind. I'm happy to see the tiger, or even if I don't see a tiger, I'm okay with it. So just that, go with open mind, enjoy whatever you see.
Okay. Anyway, thank you, guys. Thank you, Harsa. It was really nice presentation. Awesome
I
images.
have one question to answer.
Yes,
Don't
yes,
you?
yeah.
That's my teacher from my school, my favorite teacher.
Wow.
Yeah. So she's asked me, how long have you been into wildlife photography? When did you discover you had a passion for wildlife? It's for Vani Miss, my class teacher from my high school.
Yes, sir.
I got into photography, wildlife photography, into professional thing in 2014. Maybe when I was in my bachelor's, I rediscovered the passion that I have for wildlife.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was very good. Thank you so much. I would really thank you for giving me this opportunity. It was wonderful interacting and
It's
showcasing
my
my.
pleasure, Harsa. Actually, we saw a lot of, actually, usually we say Instagram, but behind the story images, no, that's very
Yes.
interesting to listen how it was made and all. No, it's good. And the
Okay.
discussion also for us, you will remember all the photograph. If you ask me, all the any photograph you ask me when it was taken, all
Very
the
true.
story
Very
we
true.
will
Yes. Yes.
remember. I don't know
Yes.
what
Yes.
it
Very
is.
true.
Yeah. And it was a really wonderful session, Karsa. Thank you. All the best, best
Thank you so
wishes.
much, man. Thank you so
Lot
much.
of more great sighting, Black Panther, all the
Thank you.
great
Thank you so
for
much.
you. And
Thank you so much. I
thank
wish everyone very good luck, and I hope you get to see a lot of wildlife. Cheers.
Okay.
Thank you, man. Bye.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye, bye, bye. Can go. Can log out, Karsa. Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you all the webinar participants. Thank you so much. Be safe. Okay. And tomorrow also, if you are really interested, birds, we are going to see South Asian birds from Anand Ramasamy. Mr. Anand Ramasamy is going to give presentation. It's 4 o'clock, same 4 o'clock. Hope you will join us. It's going to be interesting, very colorful photograph, and he's going to share us what are the places where you will find, how to go, all the details he's going to share with us. Please join tomorrow 4 o'clock, and thank you so much for joining today. Hope we enjoyed today's sessions. And my Facebook friends, hope all are fine. Tomorrow also we are having, I think 4 o'clock, same 4 o'clock we have session, guys. Please join tomorrow 4 o'clock. Mr. Anand Ramasamy is going to share his South Asian bird photos. Very beautiful, colorful bird photos. Okay. And thank you, Saro. Thank you, Kishnad. Thank you for joining today. Thank you, Sasi Kumar. Allarkum, Chennai people, Tamil Nadu, Allarkum, evening, Malay Vanakkam. எல்லாரும் சேஃபா இருங்க. நிறைய கேசஸ் and Mumbai also it's going to be lot of corona cases, and Chennai is also lot of corona cases. The numbers are high, so be careful whenever you go out, and take precautions, because now we have to take ourselves. Okay, and all the best. Be safe. We will see you tomorrow 4 o'clock. Okay, guys, hope we answer all the questions, but still if any questions you can directly contact Mr. Harsha. Is available in Instagram and all, and definitely he will reply. And I try to save these questions also. I will send it to him. Maybe if it's any very important questions, he will reply back for you. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sineka. Thank you, Ram Balaji. Okay. Bye bye. See you tomorrow, guys, 4 o'clock, and be safe. Okay. Hi, Chris. Okay, I will call you Chris. Chris, not a long name, Chris. Okay. Thank you, Prasan. Hope you guys liked it. Thank you, Sasi. I hope we covered all the sessions. Though we see the photographs, no, with the story, behind the story, it makes very interesting. So that's why it's my thought to, I will introduce photographers with their work. Tomorrow is also going to be very interesting session with the South Asian birds. And if for you guys to remind you, next Saturday, it's going to be morning session and evening session. Morning session, I think we have interesting speakers, early about 10 to 12 also, because it's going to be, we are going to celebrate World Environment Day webinars with all the information. Let us know more about our nature. And I will be sharing photo masterclass 12 to 1 o'clock. I will be sharing colors and moods, of course, composition rules. It's going to be learning session because others are all talking about conservation, everything. Everyone is covering. So my part, I am going to share how to compose and how to apply rules in wildlife photography or any nature photography. It's going to be interesting session. Please do register. Otherwise, you can join us here in Facebook Live also. And be safe, guys. All the best. See you tomorrow 4 o'clock with another interesting, colorful bird session. Okay. Bye bye. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye, guys. See you tomorrow.